Hello and welcome to another episode of Narrated Rolling, where each week I narrate over videos of me rolling with my friends Jason and Gosha in their basement dojo. In this particular session I want to show a roll with Jason, and he's attacking my guard with a lot of forward pressure. So this is an example where I try my best to use framing, guard retention and re-guarding techniques that are familiar to me and that I use just through instinct and over the years, just a habit. It's nice to break them down because they might be useful to you. They're certainly very useful to me. And so let's begin. So we still do a stand up, and in this I notice Jason lifts his foot up, so there's no harm giving any foot that's in front of you a little sweep. I do an open guard pull, foot on the hip, rotate down. Now in this position I'm a little bit square to him. I don't like being too square in front of my opponents when I play open guard, so I really want to try and create a bit of more of an angle, and the way I do that is pushing on one hip while using my other foot to put on his shoulder, his bicep, or around his shins or somewhere, just to create an asymmetric angle. This is a position where Jason can pass quite easily, so I'm very aware of that. We're still very square on. There. So that's the point where I'm trying to create an asymmetry in the position. So you can see I'm raising this shoulder here, lowering this shoulder. This hand is down. This foot is up. This foot is down. So all these points of contact are at different points of his body, which allow me to create tension and twist him up a little bit, so I'm not so flat and square to him, which is for me the death bell for open guard. So creating asymmetric tension here, a lot of sleeve work, spider guard here. Now this part is interesting. So Jason wants to drive his knee through for a knee pass, a cut through pass here, and the only thing that's preventing him at this stage is, well, I've got my foot on his sleeve here, which controls his upper torso, and just a sort of very shallow butterfly hook just under his shin bone here, and all those points are just enough to prevent him advancing forward. Continuing to be useful with that spider guard, foot on bicep, and with my right leg hook underneath, butterfly hook, is just enough because I want to lever him up and really make him feel not in balance. So he realizes he can't push that knee forward without compromising his balance and his position, and as I lift up, I put both feet on hips and I'm back to full guard, or full open guard, shall we say. Now this position is interesting. You'll notice that Jason is very aware of my hooks, and certainly I have one hook here which can be threatening in terms of creating a sweep, or at least preventing him from passing the guard. But more than that, he's aware of what I can do with my left foot here, and so he's pushing down and pushing at the knee as well, so that when he advances past around here, I don't really have any defense on my left side. It's completely gone. So let's see what happens when he progresses round. So he just needs to free his left leg, spin round, and I've re-guarded. And I've even got a sweep out there. This is a nice little sequence. We're just going to watch this again. I don't often get a sweep on Jason, so it's nice for me to look back at these things. But more importantly, it's more about how I prevented the guard pass. That's a nice place to stop it here. So at this point here, you can see my foot here. Jason has obviously given up pushing down on that foot, which makes it free to then create a hook underneath, and I will use that hook along with this leg, my right leg, to prevent the guard pass. And that's all I need really. As he spins round, you'll see as he moves around, he tries to backstep, but I've got such a good connection and I'm following his progress that brings me back into a sort of a open butterfly-y foot on hip guard. Also I'm controlling his sleeves, which puts me back into a nice position, and I do a sickle sweep. Let's have a look at that sickle sweep again. It's one of my favourite sweeps against a standing opponent. 1, 2. So my instinct with this, and I do it so many times, to be honest I don't even think about it. So my right leg here will then travel down to the ankle, but this leg here well, it's always been on his hip, so that doesn't move. So it's a very economical way to create what is quite a nice high amplitude, well, maybe not high amplitude, but quite an effective sweep. It's quite dramatic in its in the way that it moves. And so if you notice, the my right leg is going to travel down there. So there's the sweep. So this is a sweep. Also, if you want to break down the sickle sweep, I prefer to be very much on my side here. So notice I'm on one shoulder. There's a slight pull. I'm not really pulling him towards me. I'm just sort of holding it in place because I don't want to let that go. I want to control his upper body. He still has his left hand to break fall. And as we break down, so he slaps down, and as soon the key thing with all these sweeps that you do on a standing up person, as soon as they touch the ground, you have to come up. There's no point lying on the ground and admiring your work. You have to come up, which I didn't do. I went for a really bad attempt at full attack. Sorry, that was terrible. I should have come up at least into combat base or standing and tried to pass the guard, but I went for the rubbish option. And now we're in a double guard pull, which is pretty bad. But this leads on to a very nice example of two people going for feet. So you saw there that Jason had encircled his arm around my foot there. The danger signs should, the warning bells should already be signaling for me. I don't have anything on his legs, so in a footlock to footlock shootout, usually the person who secures a grip first is going to get the tap. I'm very conscious of that, so I don't want that to happen. So for me to neutralize that, one of my methods of preventing the footlock is to raise my hips up. Notice I get up on my hand, and in a moment you'll see I get up on both hands, and I elevate my hips above his hip levels, and that kills the straight ankle lock there. So he realizes he's lost the straight ankle lock. He's still got his arm entangled around my foot, but he's lost the attempt to try and lever and create pain. So handily being elevated, that also allows me to come up, which I don't do very well. I should come up and try and get into at least a combat base, but he's still got hold of my leg. So we're in this sort of weird, me trying desperately to come up and him preventing me position. Still, it's good. It's a good attempt to try and get out of a bad position for me. I pull open guard again, and I've got a butterfly hook. And I'm reasonably successful at this side. I can stop him here, but framing against his hip. We'll just look at that again, because I stop him on one side, but I don't stop him on the other side. And then it's very interesting to learn why this is the case. So as Jason's coming around on my right side, I'm using my hand to frame against his hip. Can't quite see it. There. You can just about see. I'm framing against here. Now, Jason's smart enough to know that maybe that's what he wanted me to do, because very soon after he switches around to the other side and passes on my left hand side, because I'm so tied up with preventing him from going on towards my right side. So he realizes I've got knees, I've got hands stopping him from going over to my right side, and he switches up and immediately goes around to the fake sit on one side and then goes to the other side. And I've tried. I don't even have a hip. I've got nothing. Now let's push that. That's very interesting. A little clip to look at again. How one side works, but the other side didn't. And if you're a guard passer, that might be a strategy you want to use, where you first attempt to go on one side, so that the defender commits all their energies to preventing your guard pass on that side. But what you really want to do is make that happen, so that you can then go around the other side. And that's exactly what Jason does. He realizes that my left hand side is fairly poorly defended. Now on the right hand side I was able to frame against his hip on the other side, but as you can see with my hand here, I'm not framing, I'm not doing anything, and that's the crucial part of where I failed on that there. So I frame against his thigh, but that's not good enough. So he comes round. Now to obviously prevent my guard being passed entirely, I turtle. I'm going to lose an advantage for that. I turtle up. I'm pretty good at turtle. I'm fairly safe from there. He doesn't succeed in fulfilling his guard pass. He doesn't get side control. He won't get back control from this. But it is unfortunately a last-ditch effort for me to defend the position, and the roll ends. Good round. Very tough. As you can see, I was breathing very heavily. This was towards the end of our session. I like using turtle. Sometimes I use it proactively in that I'll voluntarily go into turtle. Other times, like you just saw there, it's very much a Hail Mary, last-ditch attempt to prevent him from completing the guard pass. So I will lose. I believe I lose advantage points if you think advantage points by doing that. But it's better than having your guard completely passed and crushed from underneath. Side control. Anyway, lots of things going on in that roll. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly learn a lot when I look at these videos, and I hope you enjoyed it. Roll on for more videos coming soon. Thank you very much. Cheers.